It was supposed to be just another Thursday night. I'd gotten home early from work, something rare these days, considering how buried I'd been with back-to-back meetings and clients needing hand-holding like toddlers in traffic. I'd even stopped on the way home to grab Brooke's favorite wine. She always said it tasted like crushed velvet. I don't even know what that means. I just liked the way her lips curled when she said it. I parked in the driveway, admiring the warm glow from our bedroom window upstairs. It looked peaceful from the outside. Familiar. Home. I remember thinking, maybe we'll light a few candles, maybe we'll talk like we used to, maybe tonight will be the night it feels easy again. But I should have known. The first sign was the second wine glass in the sink. Still wet. Still dripping. That wasn't mine, and Brooke always drinks white. The glass had streaks of red running down the side. Then, the stairs. Halfway up, I heard a sound, muffled, rhythmic, wrong. My pulse started pounding in my ears. I paused. I knew that sound. You don't forget the noises a bed makes when two people are moving in sync, when breath tangles with skin, and pleasure cuts the air like broken glass. Still, I walked slowly. No drama. No rush. Like I was drifting towards something inevitable. Like I'd already accepted what I'd find. The door was cracked open. Just enough. And inside, my entire fucking world flipped inside out. There she was. Brooke. My wife. Her skin glowing with sweat under the lamplight, straddling one man and kissing another. Two bodies I knew as well as my own, Derek and Matt. My best friends since I was 15. Brothers, almost. We'd survived broken bones, bad breakups, college parties, job losses, marriages. Now they were under my roof. With her. And she wasn't drunk. This wasn't a mistake. She wasn't crying, or apologizing, or frozen with shame. No, she was laughing. Eyes closed, head tilted back, laughing. There was something primal in it, something I hadn't heard in years. Not since before our wedding, before the long arguments about bills and Brooke's endless complaints about how monotonous life had become. That laugh was full of life. And it wasn't for me. I stood there. Maybe for a second. Maybe a minute. I don't know. The seconds bent out of shape, stretching like the skin of something about to burst. I waited for the explosion in my chest. The scream. The fist through drywall. But none of it came. I just watched. Then, slowly, I reached for the doorknob, pulled it shut with a soft, final click, and walked away. I didn't say a word. Down the stairs, past the wine glass, past the couch where we used to fall asleep watching bad reality TV. I walked right out the front door. The air outside was cold, sharper than it had been all day. My hand trembled slightly as I pulled out my phone. 3 numbers. Deleted. Derek. Matt. Brooke. I didn't trust myself to say what I was thinking. I didn't trust the pain not to turn into something louder, something destructive, something permanent. Instead, I drove. No destination. Just the road, the hum of the engine, the echo of that laugh bouncing around the walls of my skull. It wasn't until I hit the outskirts of town that the numbness cracked just enough for a thought to slip through. They didn't just cheat on me. They destroyed something sacred. And they did it together. And that was the beginning. Because if they thought I would crumble, they forgot one thing about me. I build. I plan. And I never play fair once the gloves are off. I didn't cry that night. I didn't drink. I didn't rage. I started thinking. Plotting. Because revenge doesn't need volume. It just needs patience. And a little silence after the storm. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. Not because I was tossing and turning or crying into a pillow like some broken cliché from a bad Netflix drama. No, I just didn't see the point. Sleep would have meant rest, and I was far from rested. My body was still. My mind. Wide awake. Calculating. Brooke. Derek. Matt. That image was burned behind my eyelids like the ghost of a flame. Every time I blinked, it flickered to life again. Her skin pressed against theirs, her hands tangled in their hair. I didn't feel sorrow anymore. I didn't even feel anger. What I felt was cold, clean, surgical. They thought it was over, that I'd disappear, tail between my legs. But what they didn't count on was the other woman. Not the mistress, the wife. Rachel, Derek's wife. Quiet, sweet, reserved. Always the type to smile politely at parties, to offer to help with dishes even when everyone else pretended not to see the mess. The kind of woman you don't notice until she's already halfway out the door, and by then, it's too late. They treated her like a background character. Hell, I'd done it too sometimes. She never asked for the spotlight, and because of that, Everyone assumed she didn't need it. But I remembered things. Like the way she looked at Derek when she thought no one was watching. Like he was her whole goddamn world. That made what he did worse. It also made her perfect. I found her number in an old group chat from Brooke's birthday. There was a small hesitation before I pressed send. Not because I doubted what I was doing, but because I wanted to do it right. Hey Rachel, it's Ethan. I know this is sudden, but I need to talk to someone who might understand. Can we grab coffee? I waited. 10 minutes. Then 20. My heart didn't beat any faster. It just sat heavy, like a stone. At 7:11 a.m., she replied. Sure. Where? 3 hours later, we were sitting across from each other at a small cafe downtown. She wore this oversized cream-colored sweater that made her look even smaller than she was. Her eyes were swollen, like maybe she hadn't slept either. I didn't waste time. I need to tell you something, I said, voice low. Her lips parted. It's Derek, isn't it? I blinked. You know? No, she said quietly. But I felt it. I nodded. And then, I told her. All of it. No fluff. No soft edges. Just the truth. Brooke. Derek. Matt. Our bedroom. Last night. She didn't cry, not right away. She just stared down at her coffee, like the swirling cream inside it could explain the betrayal. Then, after a long silence, she whispered, he told me he was helping you plan a surprise trip for Brooke. That's why he was spending so much time with her. God. I believed him. Her voice cracked. And there it was at the tear. I didn't reach for her hand. Not yet. I just sat with her. Let her crumble quietly, the way I had hours earlier. When she finally looked at me, there was no hatred in her eyes. Just devastation. And something else. Recognition. You didn't scream, she said. No. You didn't confront them? I shook my head. I walked out. She smiled, just slightly. That's worse. Good, I replied. We sat in silence again. This one felt different. Not heavy. Just familiar. Like we were two ghosts haunting the same ruin. Her marriage. My marriage. All of it had been a lie, and we were the only ones left who didn't know we were in someone else's joke. She glanced up. What happens now? I leaned back in my chair, fingers tracing the rim of my cup. That depends. On what? On how far you're willing to go. Rachel didn't flinch. Didn't look away. I gave him everything, she said. I waited for him. I forgave things I shouldn't have. I held us together when he stopped trying. So yeah, I'd say I'm willing to go as far as it takes. There it was. Not rage. Not revenge. Resolve. I walked her to her car. She was still quiet, but her eyes had changed. Less fog, more fire. Before she got in, she touched my arm. Thank you for telling me. You deserve the truth. Her hand lingered just a second longer than necessary. Not romantic. Not yet. But not meaningless either. As I watched her drive away, one thought settled in my mind. I didn't just find an ally. I found a fuse. And I was just getting ready to light it. Rachel called me that night. Her voice was soft, like she didn't want to wake the walls of her house. I could hear the faint hum of some documentary playing in the background, something about whales or the deep ocean. She wasn't watching it. She was just letting the noise fill the silence. I can't sleep, she whispered. Yeah, I said. Me either. A pause. Then, can I ask you something? Of course. How long do you think it was going on? I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't have a theory, I did, but because I didn't want to hurt her more than I already had. Eventually, I said, long enough for them to forget what it means to care about us. She was quiet again. Then I heard her sniff. A stifled breath. A tear sliding down. I feel so stupid, she said. Don't, I told her. You trusted someone. That doesn't make you stupid. That makes you brave. That broke her. She didn't sob, not at first. It was the kind of cry you keep buried in your pillow so your neighbors or your kids or your own goddamn self won't hear it. I just stayed on the line, letting her cry without filling the space with empty words. There's a silence that feels like a bomb, and I wanted to be that for her. After a while, she asked, do you think people ever really come back from this? Not the same, I said. But maybe that's the point. She sighed, then laughed, just a little. That sounds like something out of a therapy podcast. It might be, I chuckled. I've been doing a lot of reading lately. Another pause. Then she asked, do you want to come over? It wasn't loaded. It wasn't sexual. Not then. It was simple, real, human. So I said yes. Her house smelled like vanilla and chamomile and something sweetly sad. She had a blanket around her shoulders when she opened the door, and even though her hair was a mess and she wasn't wearing any makeup, I swear she looked more beautiful than I'd ever noticed before. Not because of some physical transformation, but because I was really seeing her. "You okay?" I asked. "No," she said, "but I think I'm getting there." We sat on her porch with 2 glasses of red wine and a silence that wasn't uncomfortable. It was companionable, like we were sharing the same weight and didn't need to speak to carry it together. She talked about how Derek used to write her notes, how he'd tuck them in her coat pocket or inside her favorite book, how he hadn't done that in years, how the silence between them had stopped being peaceful and started being permanent. I talked too about Brooke, about how I used to think she was magic, how just hearing her laugh could fix a bad day, how lately that laugh had turned into something I only heard in rooms I wasn't allowed in anymore. Somewhere between the second and third glass, Rachel shifted closer, her head on my shoulder. It was innocent until it wasn't. When she looked up at me, her eyes glassy from the wine and tears, I saw something else there. Not desperation, not grief, something simpler. Need. I don't remember who leaned in first, but the kiss wasn't rushed. It was soft, exploratory. It was the kind of kiss that asked a question and held its breath for the answer. Her fingers trembled as they touched my jaw, tracing the stubble like it was something precious. My hands settled on her hips, steady, cautious, careful not to break whatever this was blooming between us. It didn't feel like cheating. It didn't feel wrong. It felt like reclamation. But we stopped. She pulled away first. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "That wasn't fair." "It was honest," I said. She nodded, her forehead pressed to mine. "I just don't want to be another version of them." "You're not," I told her. "And I'm not him." This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about them. She looked at me, really looked. Then what was it about? I smiled. Maybe 2 broken people just recognizing the cracks in each other. She kissed me again, softer this time. Briefer. Then she pulled away and whispered, "Stay. Just not like that. Just don't want to be alone tonight." So I did. I held her as she slept. No sex. No rush. Just skin against skin, heartbeat against heartbeat. And for the first time since I closed that door on Brooke, I felt something stir deep inside me. Not anger. Not pain. Something else. Hope. Lana never liked me much. Or so I thought. We'd never had a real conversation that didn't involve sarcasm or playful insults. At parties, she was the firecracker with the sharp tongue, the loud laugh, the don't give a damn strut in 6-inch heels. The kind of woman who didn't wait for a spotlight. She dragged it over and made it shine on her. She was also Matt's wife. Matt, who I'd once pulled from a burning Jeep after a dumb off-roading accident in college. Matt, who cried in my arms when his dad died. Matt, who had his tongue in my wife's mouth 3 nights ago. I waited 2 days before I reached out to Lana, not because I needed time, but because I wanted it to burn. I messaged her with a single line. "You still think Matt's loyal? Ask him what he was doing last Thursday night at my house." She responded 20 minutes later. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I sent a screenshot. Just one. Brooke's text to Derek from earlier that day. "Tell Matt not to leave his watch again." Ethan almost found it. Read at 10:17 p.m. And then silence. No response. No typing dots. No rage texts. Until the next day. "Meet me at Union Jack's. 6:30. Don't be late." That night, I found her at the bar, already 2 cocktails in. Black jeans, leather jacket, hair down, lips painted like sin. She didn't say hello. She shoved her phone across the table, screen lit with a photo of the watch. I recognized it immediately. Matt's tacky-as-hell, oversized designer monstrosity. "This is his, right?" she asked. I nodded. "And that's your bedroom in the background?" Another nod. She looked up at me, her jaw tight. "He told me he was at his brother's poker night that night. Guess the cards were stacked differently," I said. She took a deep breath, set the phone down, then laughed. It wasn't light or funny. It was sharp, wounded, unbelievable, she said, tossing back the rest of her drink. "You know what's worse? I knew. I fucking knew. I just didn't want to look too close. Because if I looked too close, I'd have to admit the truth." I ordered us both whiskey. She didn't hesitate. We talked, really talked, about how Matt hadn't touched her in months unless he was drunk. How every compliment had turned into passive-aggressive jabs. How he called her too much when she dressed up and lazy when she didn't. How she had been shrinking herself to fit into the shell of the man she married. I listened, and when she paused, she looked at me, really looked. You know, she said, her voice dropping just a touch, you're not what I expected. How so? I thought you'd be wrecked. Pathetic. Crying into a bottle of scotch and sad boy music. I smirked. I did that. Monday night. She laughed, this time genuine. So what's this, then? Your revenge tour. I leaned in. This is the part where I stop letting people step on me. Her eyes narrowed. And what do you want from me? I want you to know the truth. The rest? That's up to you. She downed the whiskey in one motion, then stood. I'm parked out back, she said. I didn't ask questions. When we got to her car, she slammed the door behind us. We sat in silence for a beat, her fingers tapping the steering wheel. Then, without looking at me, she said, Matt once told me you were weak. I turned my head. Was that before or after he fucked my wife? She looked over. Probably during. Then she kissed me. It wasn't slow. It wasn't soft. It was desperate. Raw. The kind of kiss that doesn't ask for permission. It takes. Her hands fisted in my shirt, mine tangled in her hair, and for a moment, we stopped being the betrayed and became something else entirely. I pulled away first, breathless. Lana, don't, she whispered. Don't make this mean anything. I didn't. Not out loud. But I felt it. Beneath the anger. Beneath the hunger. Something was beginning. She dropped me off without another word, but her fingers lingered at my wrist when I got out. A silent message. This wasn't over. Back at home, I stood under the shower, hot water cascading down my back, the scent of her perfume still clinging to my skin. I had touched Rachel like a lifeline. I had kissed Lana like a firestorm. And neither of them knew about the other. Yet. But I wasn't careless. No, this was methodical. I wasn't just rebuilding my broken pieces. I was sharpening them. There are rules to playing two sides. But the first rule? Don't get caught. The second? Don't fall in. And the third? Well, I was still figuring that one out. Rachel texted me the next morning. I dreamt about last night. About you. I sat with that message for a long time. She didn't ask what came next. She didn't demand a label. Just those 6 words. And in them, a kind of vulnerability that made my chest tighten. That same afternoon, Lana sent me a picture. Not nude. Not vulgar. But intimate. Her in black lace lingerie, lounging across crisp white sheets. A smirk on her lips, and one finger pressed against them in a silent sh. Guess what Matt's doing right now? Golfing with Derek. Cute, right? I responded with a heart. A calculated heart. The two women couldn't have been more different. Rachel was a slow burn. She invited me to her porch again the next night, this time in a soft dress that clung to her like a sigh. She poured us wine, asked me how I'd been sleeping. We talked about her childhood, how she used to climb the oak tree behind her parents' house and dream of becoming a poet. And then she touched my knee, just a light grace, but it lit something deep. She kissed me under the stars, her hands trembling slightly, her breath warm against my neck. When I kissed her back, she pulled me inside, into a bedroom that still smelled faintly of Derek's cologne. I didn't care. She undressed like she was unveiling a secret. Her body was soft, warm, real. When we made love, because that's what it was with her, it was unhurried, quiet, almost reverent. She cried afterward, not from pain, not from regret, but from release. I feel like I've been underwater, she whispered, curled against my chest. You're the first breath I've had in weeks. I stayed until she fell asleep, kissed her forehead, watched her chest rise and fall, and then I left. To go see Lana. Lana didn't want conversation. She wanted teeth, claws, sweat and bruises and moans that scraped against drywall. She texted at midnight. My place. Now. Don't knock. Just come in. So I did. The moment I stepped inside, she grabbed my shirt, yanked it over my head, and pulled me into the living room. We didn't even make it to the bed. She tore her clothes off like they were on fire, and when we kissed, it was all teeth and tongue and heat. She bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. Tell me, she whispered, straddling me on the couch, nails digging into my shoulders. Tell you what, that she doesn't make you feel like this. I looked her dead in the eye. She doesn't make me burn. It was the truth. Rachel was warmth. A soft blanket. Lana was gasoline and open flame. Both were dangerous in their own way. And I was addicted to the contrast. I rotated nights. Never back to back. Careful with my scent, my words, my energy. I compartmentalized like a goddamn surgeon. Rachel brought me tea and whispered her poetry into my ear while I brushed her hair with slow fingers. Lana handcuffed me to her bed and rode me until her thighs shook and her laugh turned primal. Both needed something, and I gave it to them. Carefully, meticulously. The emotional seduction was more potent than the sex. I listened. I touched. I saw them in ways their husbands never had. Not as trophies, not as accessories, but as women on the verge of rediscovery. And in return, they started to orbit me. Rachel sent me photos of her watercolor paintings. Lana left lipstick kisses on napkins tucked inside my jacket pocket. They didn't know about each other. Not yet. But I could feel the moment approaching like thunder on the horizon. The dangerous game wasn't just about keeping secrets. It was about building stakes. And mine? Were climbing by the hour. One night, I stood in front of the mirror, shirtless, scratches still fresh across my back, Rachel's perfume still clinging to my skin. And I realized something. I wasn't just getting revenge. I was becoming the man they thought their husbands were. Confident, present, ruthless when needed, gentle when deserved. But there was something else growing inside me too. Something I hadn't expected. Power. Not the cruel kind. The capable kind. The kind that comes from clarity. From control. From purpose. I used to be passive. Now I was a weapon. Sharpened by betrayal. Tempered by touch. And they were becoming my edge. The first confession didn't come during sex. It came in the stillness after. Rachel lay next to me, the soft lamplight painting gold onto her bare shoulder as she traced circles on my chest. Her hair was a mess, her cheeks still flushed, and her voice barely rose above a whisper. I don't think I've ever felt seen. Until now. I turned my head to look at her. What do you mean? She hesitated. Bit her lip. Derek. I think he loved the idea of me. The quiet wife. The reliable one. The one who hosted dinners and smiled in the background. But he never saw me. Her fingers paused. Not like this. I brushed a strand of hair from her face. I see you, Rachel. She swallowed hard. You don't just see me. You listen. You touch me like I matter. You do. And she cried. Not a sob. Not even tears that rolled down. Just one, singular, silent, and I kissed it before it could fall. It wasn't the kind of night you leave. So I stayed. We fell asleep tangled together, her legs slung over mine, her breath warm at my collarbone. But the next night? Lana. Because the pendulum always swings. I hadn't even made it through her front door before she grabbed me by the belt and dragged me inside. She didn't speak. Not until we were upstairs. Not until she was pressed against the wall, my lips at her throat. Then she said it. I hate him. My hands paused. Mad. Her eyes flared. All of it. The lies. The way he looks at me now like I'm some obligation. Like sex is a favor he's doing me. Like my anger is some irrational phase I should get over. I hate that he took the most fire-filled parts of me and made me feel ash. I stared at her. And she kissed me, fierce and desperate, and I didn't stop her. She tasted like scotch and fury. That night, we didn't make love. We fought with our bodies. Teeth scraping, nails leaving trails, skin colliding in a symphony of bruised passion. When it was over, she collapsed onto my chest, her breathing uneven, her voice hoarse. Why you? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Why am I addicted to you, and not just the revenge? I finally said, because I don't ask you to be less. She turned her head. He always asked me to tone it down, to not embarrass him, to be less dramatic, less intense. And did you? For a while, she said, until I realized I was shrinking into someone I didn't recognize. I ran my fingers down her spine. You're not too much, Lana. He's just too little. She laughed, bitter and beautiful. God, you really know how to fuck a woman's soul, don't you? I didn't reply, because I felt it too. The shift. This was no longer just about revenge. This was about reclamation for all of us. Rachel wanted to be seen. Lana wanted to be felt. And me? I wanted them both. Not for ego, not for lust, but because in the wreckage of what we'd lost, we'd found pieces of each other. Pieces our partners had missed, ignored, or crushed. They didn't know about the other yet. But the clock was ticking. 2 nights later, Rachel called again. Ethan, what are we? I froze. She continued, her voice shaking. I know I said this wasn't about replacing Derek. I know I said I didn't want anything complicated. But I think I'm falling. Silence. I could lie. I could dodge. But I didn't. Rachel, I said, my voice even. You're not alone in that. She exhaled, relieved. Do you think? We could have something real after all this? Maybe, I said, but not yet. I still have one last truth to lay bare. And I meant it. Because the secret was becoming too big. I was sleeping with Rachel and I was fucking Lana. But both women were falling for the same man. Me. And they deserved to know the full truth. Because if I was going to burn this whole facade down, I'd better make damn sure they walked out of the fire with me. I spent the entire day setting the stage. Not metaphorically, literally. A private booth at Augustine's, one of the nicest low-light bistros in town. Candles. Deep red wine. A tucked-away table half-wrapped in heavy velvet curtains. Intimate, but not suffocating. Romantic, but not sleazy. Perfect for confessions. Perfect for risks. I messaged Rachel first. Dinner tonight? I have something important to tell you. She responded almost immediately. Of course. 7. Then Lana. Need to see you. Tonight. She answered with just 2 words. About damn time. Neither woman knew the other was coming. Yet, when Rachel walked into the restaurant, she looked almost shy. A soft green dress that hugged her gently, her hair down in loose waves. She smiled when she spotted me, small, genuine, fragile. When Lana arrived 5 minutes later, she was the opposite. Black jeans, leather jacket slung casually over one shoulder, bold lipstick daring anyone to look away. She spotted us instantly, spotted Rachel instantly, and for a split second, I thought she was going to turn around and walk back out. But she didn't. She squared her shoulders and approached. Rachel turned as Lana got closer, confusion painting her features. Her smile faltered. Lana's jaw tightened. She slid into the booth across from me, next to Rachel, without waiting for an invitation. The air snapped taut. Rachel's voice wavered when she finally spoke. Ethan, what's going on? I poured wine into both their glasses before answering. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. I asked you both here because I owe you the truth, I said. They watched me, Rachel with wide, wary eyes. Lana with a sharp, waiting stare. I took a breath. I've been seeing you both. Separately. Carefully. Intimately. Rachel's hand twitched against the stem of her wine glass. Lana didn't move. Silence devoured us for a long, brutal moment. Rachel's voice broke it. Soft. Hurt. How long? Since shortly after. Rachel's throat bobbed as she swallowed. She didn't cry, not yet, but the betrayal cracked across her face like splintering porcelain. Lana let out a low laugh. Sharp and humorless. I should have known, she muttered. I mean, why the hell would anything in my life be simple? I leaned forward, palms flat on the table. I didn't plan this, I said. I didn't scheme to use you. It wasn't about conquest. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't even about revenge, not at first. Rachel blinked rapidly, her hands knotting in her lap. Then what was it about? Lana snapped. It was about survival, I said quietly. It was about finding something real in the wreckage. And it became about you. Both of you. More silence. Rachel turned her head, studying Lana for a long, tense moment. Then she looked at me again. Her voice was barely audible when she asked, Do you love her? I shook my head. Rachel's shoulders sagged for half a second. Then she asked, Do you love me? I hesitated, because I didn't want to cheapen it. I'm not ready to say that yet, I admitted. But I could. Easily. Her lips trembled. Then Lana leaned back, arms crossed. And me? She asked, voice defiant. I turned my head toward her. You remind me how to feel alive, I said. You remind me that I'm still dangerous. Still wanted. You bring the fire back into my blood. You make me reckless, Lana. A tiny smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. But it wasn't triumph. It was something closer to sadness. Rachel sipped her wine, hands trembling. So what now? She asked. I let the moment stretch. Let the possibilities hang there. Then I said the thing I'd been thinking for days. We could walk away from this. Pretend none of it happened. Heal alone. Safer. Simpler. I leaned closer. Or we could stop playing by their rules. We could build something different. Honest. Raw. Unbreakable. Between the three of us. Rachel's glass paused halfway to her lips. Lana laughed again, but this time, there was heat in it. Dangerous heat. You're serious? She asked. I nodded. I'm not asking for some cheap fantasy. I'm not asking you to be something you're not. But I know what we've been through. I know what we deserve. And I know. I don't want to lose either of you. Rachel's hands curled into fists, then relaxed. Lana's tongue darted across her bottom lip thoughtfully. Finally, Rachel spoke. What would it even look like? She whispered. I smiled. Whatever we wanted to. Another long, crackling silence. And then, slowly, Rachel reached across the table. Her fingers brushed mine. Lana watched. Then, with a huff of breath that sounded suspiciously like a laugh, she reached too. Her hand layered over Rachel's. Over mine. A fragile, trembling triangle. None of us spoke. Because sometimes, the biggest decisions aren't made with words. They're made in the space between heartbeats. And in that space, something new was born. Not forgiveness. Not forgetfulness. Something else. Freedom. The invitation came 2 weeks later, dressed in fake smiles and sugar-coated guilt. It was from Derek. A group text, actually. Hey man, Brooke's throwing a backyard barbecue in a couple weeks. Whole crew's gonna be there. Hope you'll come. Let's clear the air and move forward. I read it twice before responding. Wouldn't miss it. Not a single muscle in my face moved when I hit send. But inside, I smiled. Because they thought I'd play nice. They thought I'd show up, maybe act awkward, maybe swallow my pride while they all played pretend. They thought I'd keep their dirty secrets just so I wouldn't seem bitter. They had no idea. I told Rachel and Lana that same night. We met at Lana's place. Wine, candlelight, and tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Rachel sat curled into the couch, legs tucked under her, while Lana paced barefoot in black silk shorts and a tank top that didn't try to hide the curve of her breasts. She looked like sin and strategy wrapped in one. I told them about the barbecue, about Brooke, about Derek and Matt, and then I told them my plan. They were quiet for a moment, until Lana laughed. Jesus, she said, you want us to go with you? Like some kind of royal unveiling. Exactly, I said. Rachel looked nervous. What happens after? I met her eyes. Whatever we want. But first, they need to see what they lost. What they never deserved. What they'll never touch again. That silenced her. But she didn't say no. 3 days later, we walked into war. The barbecue was already buzzing when we arrived. The backyard glowed with string lights and overpriced patio furniture. I spotted Matt at the grill, beer in hand, laughing with some other guys. Derek was in the corner chatting with Brooke, who wore a summer dress way too tight for a hostess pretending to be wholesome. People looked up as I approached. First confusion, then recognition, then shock. Rachel on one side, hair swept back in a perfect chignon, a flowing sundress that made her look like an angel carved from glass. Her hand gripped mine tightly. Lana on the other, red lips, black slit dress, heels that clicked like a metronome counting down to detonation. Her other hand traced my shoulder as if staking a claim. Derek blinked first. Ethan. Matt's face drained of color like someone had pulled the plug on his circulatory system. Brooke's jaw hung slightly open. Rachel turned toward Derek, voice calm. Cold. Hi, honey. Derek's mouth worked, but no sound came. You look surprised, she added, sipping her wine. Don't worry. I'll only take a minute. Then, softly, she placed her glass down on a nearby table, stepped up to him, and whispered something in his ear. I couldn't hear what it was, but I saw his face crack. Whatever she said, she meant it. She turned, walked away, never looked back. And in that moment, I saw it. Strength. Not in fury. In composure. Then it was Lana's turn. She didn't say a word. She walked right up to Matt, stood close enough for him to smell her perfume, and slapped him. Not hard. Not wild. Just a single, sharp note of finality. Then, before he could even react, she turned and kissed me. Full. Open mouth. Hungry. His expression? A masterpiece. Somewhere between rage and disbelief, like watching a tornado demolish the house you'd just finished building. Brooke stepped forward then. Ethan, can we talk? I looked at her. Blonde hair curled. Makeup flawless. Desperate eyes. Talk, I said, tilting my head. About what? She took a shaky breath. About us. I let the silence stretch. Then, just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, I laughed. Us ended the moment I walked in and saw you double-teamed like a clearance rack mattress. Her face turned ghost pale. I made a mistake, she whispered. I leaned in close. No, Brooke. You made choices. And now you get to live with them. I turned away before she could respond. Rachel slid her hand back into mine. Lana smirked, twirling her wine glass like a villainess in stilettos. The rest of the barbecue? Honestly, I don't remember much. Because after that, we owned the room. No one said it out loud, but they all saw it. The man they betrayed didn't break. He didn't beg. He walked in with the wives they discarded, and they chose him. Not for revenge. Not out of pity. But because, In the end, I was the only one who'd ever treated them like they mattered. And that burned more than any slap ever could. The fallout began before I even made it back to my car. The moment we walked out of that backyard, the three of us, calm, collected, untouchable, the silence behind us didn't feel like peace. It felt like a bomb waiting to go off. And I knew damn well I'd lit the fuse. That night, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Derek. What the hell, man? How could you do that to me? Matt. So you're seriously fucking my wife now? Unbelievable, dude. You need help. Brooke. Ethan, please. Can we talk? Please. I miss you. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I turned off my phone. They didn't deserve answers. They barely deserved breath. The next few days played out like a tragic comedy in 3 parts. Act 1. Derek and Rachel. Rachel moved out the next morning. Not quietly. Not discreetly. She let herself into the house while Derek was at work, took everything that was hers, and a few things that weren't, and left a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a printout of the hotel receipts, the texts, the screenshots I'd shared, and a note. The man I thought you were is dead. Ethan helped me bury him. Good luck living with what's left. Derek texted her nonstop. Apologies. Blame shifting. Pathetic attempts to twist it all back into her fault. She didn't respond once. Then he tried me. You've ruined my life, Ethan. I responded with one word. Good. Act 2. Matt and Lana. Matt didn't even get the dignity of a note. Lana threw his shit onto the lawn, his golf clubs, his sneakers, a box of old photos, and one of his prized whiskey bottles. She poured the whiskey over the rest, set it all on fire, and posted the video on her Instagram story. Caption. New man, new standards. Bye, bitch. Matt showed up at her place screaming, red-faced, flailing his arms. I happened to be there that night, sitting in her kitchen in nothing but pajama pants, sipping wine while Lana leaned against the counter in a silk robe. She didn't let him in. Didn't even open the door. Just pulled the blinds and moaned loudly against my neck, knowing full well he could hear it. He left 10 minutes later. Tires screeching. Pride in shreds. Act 3. Brooke. Brooke tried to play the long game. She started posting healing quotes on Facebook. Photos of sunsets. Vague captions about growth and learning from mistakes. As if hashtags could fix the kind of betrayal that rewired a man's soul. When subtle didn't work, she showed up at my door. Tight jeans. That old flirty smile. I didn't let her in. You look good, she said, eyes scanning me like she still had a claim. I feel good, I replied. Turns out being honest has that effect. She bit her lip. Can we just talk? One more time. I stepped out, shut the door behind me. No. Ethan, please. I was confused. It didn't mean anything. We were just drunk. It just happened. I tilted my head. 3 people. Our bed. Repeatedly. That's not confusion, Brooke. That's choreography. She winced. I miss you. You miss who you thought I was. The man who would have forgiven you. Tears welled in her eyes. She reached for me. I stepped back. You don't get to touch me anymore. That shattered her. I turned and walked back inside. Rachel was waiting in my kitchen, barefoot in my hoodie, drinking coffee from a chipped mug. Lana was still asleep in my bed, sprawled on the pillows like a war goddess. I'd gone from the man they pitted to the man they envied. And as the days passed, the cracks in their perfect world turned into canyons. Mutual friends started drifting. Whispers filled every dinner party, every office happy hour. Oh, you heard what Derek did? Brooke and Matt? With Ethan's wife? Together. Did you see who he's dating now? The betrayal became their name tag. And I became the one who didn't break. One night, Rachel curled up beside me and said, Do you think they regret it? I kissed her shoulder. Regret is their prison now. Lana stretched on the couch, sipping her wine. And we burned the key. We didn't just survive the implosion. We caused it. And we walked away untouched. Together. It's been 6 months. Sometimes I still catch myself standing in the mirror, shirt half-buttoned, toothbrush in hand, thinking about the man I used to be. The man who would have looked away, who would have forgiven, who would have begged for answers he already had. I don't see him anymore. The man in the mirror now? He doesn't flinch. He doesn't ask. He chooses. And lately, more often than not, he's smiling. Because this new life, this strange, wild, unexpectedly perfect new life, it doesn't look anything like what I thought I wanted. It's better. Rachel moved in 3 months ago. Her things took over the guest bedroom at first, then the closet, then half the kitchen. Now it's her home too. She fills the mornings with music, always humming under her breath while she brews her tea. Her presence is soft, steady, a quiet strength I lean into more than I ever expected. Lana? Lana didn't move in. That was never her way. But she's here often. She comes through the back door on Thursday nights like a storm wrapped in leather and perfume. She cooks in her underwear, dances barefoot on the tile, and still calls Matt, that limp dick idiot, any time his name comes up. They couldn't be more different. Rachel is Sunday mornings. Lana is Friday nights. And somehow, we work. People talk, of course. Our old friend group fractured. Derek disappeared into some startup in Seattle. Brooke tried to pivot to real estate, but found herself shut out of half the social circles she used to reign over. Matt? Last I heard, he was dating someone 10 years younger who didn't know the full story. Poor girl will find out. They all thought I'd fade, that I'd crawl away and lick my wounds in silence. Instead, I flourished. Rachel started painting again. She sold her first piece last month. The joy on her face when that email came through? I'll never forget it. Lana started her own interior design studio, bold, edgy, and unapologetically hers. I helped her with the launch party. She pulled me into the bathroom halfway through it and kissed me like we were 17. And me? I sleep better now. I laugh more. I take long walks without checking my phone. And I live on my terms. One evening, the three of us sat on the back deck watching the sunset bleed into the sky. Rachel had her legs draped over mine. Lana was lighting a cigarette, smirking at nothing in particular. You ever think about what would have happened if you never walked in that night? Rachel asked. I thought about it. I think I'd still be living someone else's life. Lana took a drag, exhaled slowly. And now I'm living mine. She nodded once. Damn right. Rachel leaned her head against my shoulder. We sat there in silence, the kind that feels earned, the kind that doesn't need to fill itself with noise. I thought about everything they'd taken from me, Brooke, Derek, Matt. And then I looked at what I'd gained. 2 women who saw me, respected me, chose me, not because I was safe, not because I was familiar, but because I wasn't the man who looked the other way. And that was the final blow. Because I didn't just walk out of that betrayal. I built something real from it. Not perfect, but honest. And that's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't have to break you. Sometimes, it becomes the foundation for the strongest, fiercest, most liberating version of yourself you'll ever meet. And if you're lucky, you find someone to meet you there. Or 2.